Hi, it's Mark the Land Rover, and I've got the turbo off here. So Andrew took the turbo off over the weekend, and what I've got to check now is, because we've got lots of oil around it, but that's probably from the engine oil. We've got lots of oil inside there as well, so we'll put a bit of parts cleaner in there. See if she rubs away, see how thick she is. Yeah, that's gunked on pretty much. That's on the intake. That's the cold side of the turbo. This is the hot side, so I need a torch here if I can get one. Let's get our sunlight. So we've got our sunlight in here. And all looks good. Exhaust gases have made it nice and black, but there's no real... I mean, it is dark and black, but there's no real oil there. So it doesn't look like it's burning oil. So next check. I'll put the torch on there, see if it... No. Right, inside there, at the blades, what I'll do is just hold my fingers side to side. Oh, I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that with that hand. Oh my word, I've got loads of side movement. Now you're supposed to have a bit of side movement. I suspect that is too much. If I push it over that way, we're catching on the edge. See that edge there? Hopefully you can see that. We're catching on that edge, so that is gonna. That's too much side to side. You're allowed a little bit side to side, but that's too much. Look, hope you can see that. There we go. So those bearings on that shaft are gone. And then the next check we do is in and out. So I think it's called radial and axial. I can't remember exactly. One's radial, which is probably that way, and axial is that way, I think. So I'll pull it in and out. Right, that feels like about a mil, and there shouldn't be any actual, or axial, sorry. There shouldn't be any actual. Yeah, that's actually gone, that. Now that one, this movement here is the thrust washer. You can hear it tapping. That's me moving the shaft backwards and forwards. There's a thrust washer, actually I can't remember where it is. It's actually probably there, about there, and that stops it moving this way, which is, there shouldn't be any movement there. Yeah, that's far too much. So that thrust washer is gone. And then this one, side to side, this way, there's a bit of movement there as well. You're allowed a bit of movement this way, but that's too much, absolutely too much. I've got some feeler gauges, or I've got some. Let's see if we've got any feeler gauges. Right, so I've got some feeler gauges. So I've got a set of feeler gauges here. I'm going to put in some feeler gauges, see how fat my gap is, because there'll be measurements on here between the blade edge and the body. If I can get them in. That's too thick. So that's 35 thou. Let's go for something thinner. Right, let's try a 10 thou. We'll try a 10 thou. Oh, we haven't got 10 thou there. Wow. I'll have to get the light here. We call this the sunlight because it's mega bright when it's there. It's not quite high enough to see properly in there, but that's smaller than 10 thou. Wow, that's a... Now I'll have to check with the manufacturer to see. 32 thou is too big. I'm looking for a 5 thou feeler gauge. 18 thou, 20 thou, that's 10, 19, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, come on. 10 thou, there's a 10 thou feeler gauge. So let's see if we can get a 10 thou in. Right, we can't even get a 10 in. Now I'll have to ask the turbo rebuilders. Now I think we want to do this one ourselves because it's actually not that complicated a job. 10 thou, we can get a 10 thou in there. So we should be able to get a Let's see if we've got a 6. Let's see if we've got a 6, because that was quite tight at 10. Let's see if we can get a 6 in there. Well, we obviously will, but that's going to give us the 6 thou. There we go. It's 6/1000 of an inch on there. Now, I'm not yet, and it's 6,000 on that side, but it moves side to side a little bit. See what it is on the bottom. I'll torch it to the side until we're running out of charge there, so we'll switch her off. Now, yeah, that's 6 on the bottom as well. So it does spin central. It is quite smooth. Bear in mind this is oil fed, these bearings in here. So they're not actually bearings, they're, I think they're brass. And they're like a little collet thing with holes in. And the oil feed, which is in the, that's the bottom. The oil feed, which is the top here, that feeds oil, because that's the top. This is the, I know it's in the vise that way, but this is the top of the turbo, that's the bottom. Oil feed goes into there just on this. There's a union about here, that's there. That feeds oil into the bearings, and so they sit in this little bath of oil. So there should be no metal on metal touching there. So we've got a turbo that's got thrust washer movement, axial movement, and radial movement. So we're going to have to get a new rebuild kit for that one. Now the problem with rebuilding these, and I'll show you, is these bolts, because these are a little sod to get out, because these quite often snap, because that's the hot side, this is the exhaust side, that's the inlet side. So we'll clean it all up, we'll soak those in WD-40 for a couple of days before we try to get them off. Now these are on little tabs to keep them from, oops, some fluid dropped out there. On little tabs to keep them from unlocking. And so we're going to soak them for a little while and make sure that wastegate opens all right, and make sure everything else is serviceable. So we're getting a rebuild kit. I don't think it's burning oil though. The reason I don't think it's burning oil, I'll turn it round. That's the exhaust side, and there's not a lot of oil in there. It's quite dry. Normally when you get oil, I know of course we've got a stud extract this stud here, because that's snapped off of course. That's the problem with it. The hot side of the turbo is the studs don't last forever. So put decent studs in. Get genuine ones if you can. Oh, I've got a little hole. Hold on a minute. No way, is that a little hole in the cast? Oh no, it's just the thread. No, it's all right. I thought there was a little hole in the casting there, that's weird. It's just in fact I'll show you. It's just a little hole there in the casting, but the bolt goes through there and sits in there anyway, so it's not actually a hole. That's actually pretty good. So we'll get a rebuild kit. It doesn't look like it's burning oil in there, so again, when we're doing our investigation, we are burning some oil in the engine, so we're now presuming it's rings rather than the turbo seal's gone. Although the seals the bearings have gone anyway in the turbo, so we've got to rebuild it. But it's likely the rings on the engine. So there's our turbo work. We're gonna have to rebuild it. I'll talk you through the rebuild when I've got it in bits, and we'll see where we go from there. My name's Mark. Thanks for watching.